Welcome to the City of Tualatin's 2021 State of the City. We've gone virtual this year, but we'll be visiting some familiar places. In this video, we'll cover some of the many things we did this past year. Stick around to the end for a live Q&A. Along with some familiar places, I hope you'll recognize some familiar faces. I've invited the City Council and staff to help tell the story of the year that was.
The first case of coronavirus in Oregon was diagnosed in March of 2020, portending the start of a year we couldn't predict. Like many of you, the City of Tualatin made changes to protect the health, safety, and livelihood of our staff and the community. We provided 3 rounds of grant funding for small businesses totaling over $800,000 and provided scholarships for families with challenging childcare expenses. City volunteers made and donated cloth face coverings so our staff could keep providing critical services to our community. With our city manager, Sherilyn Lambos' leadership, we partnered with the Tualatin Chamber of Commerce to organize Gift Cards for Good, where community members could support local businesses by purchasing gift cards that were then donated to families in need. None of this work to support our community could have happened without the efforts of our dedicated staff, including our 2020 Employee of the Year, Bates Russell, our Director of Information and Maintenance Services. The city's Employee of the Year program recognizes employees that excel in their positions and in shared principles like teamwork and respect.
While the Juanita Poll Center, city offices, and other city facilities may have closed their doors to the public, our staff never stopped working. We quickly transitioned a portion of our staff to fully remote work, setting them up with the equipment necessary to support video calls, online applications, and other services. For those required to work on-site, we implemented staggered shifts and other protective measures to ensure the safety of our staff and the public. My favorite part of working for the City of Tualatin is the people. I'm inspired time and time again by the dedication and joy our staff bring to this community.
While we miss gathering around the hearth for music and getting our wiggles out during story time in the community room, this year challenged us to try new things and be creative. So we did.
One only needs to take a look at our YouTube channel to see the many ways in which our library and parks department innovated this year. The ever popular exercise programs at the Juanita Poll Center were no longer possible, so our team started leading fitness, yoga, and Tai Chi classes online with over 2,000 participants. Many of our enrichment programs at the Juanita Poll Center have also continued in a virtual format, including trivia, social hours, and various informational health classes. You can even book an appointment with staff for one-on-one instruction on Zoom.
The library also expanded our virtual programming, with our pre-recorded videos gaining over 3,000 views a month. Programs previously available in the library can now be enjoyed from home, including videos of read-aloud stories, trivia, craft projects, science experiments, and more. Patrons can also join online for live book discussions, game nights, and musical performances. Even our trusty library volunteers stayed active this past year. Many tween readers logged hours reading to family members and pets, and our craft prep crew kept many programs running by assembling supply kits for pickup at the library. It's clear we're also a community of readers, with over 9,500 physical items being checked out through our curbside pickup each month.
We look forward to building our virtual programming collection and can't wait to welcome people back to our library and the Juanita Poll Center soon. Esperamos añadir a nuestra colección de programación virtual y pronto estaremos dando la bienvenida a todos a nuestra biblioteca y al centro de Juanita Poll.
Tualatin is an active and thriving community. One of the things we're known for is our premier events, including the West Coast Giant Pumpkin Regatta, Movies on the Common, and Viva Tualatin. This wasn't the first time the West Coast Giant Pumpkin Regatta was canceled, but we still missed our signature event. Luckily, our Parks and Recreation Department marked the occasion with a commemorative poster, coloring books, and the Terminator Way Off. Our staff didn't slow down, and the pumpkins didn't either. The winning pumpkin came in at 2,047 pounds. Through Washington County's Community Psyche Grant, we were able to offer a brand new slate of physically distant events this year, including the very popular Holiday Lights Parade. Over 90 community vehicles and public works trucks traveled along 3 different parade routes, decked out in lights and holiday gear through the month of December. We also made changes to our Veterans Recognition event. Instead of gathering at the Juanita Pole Center for breakfast, veterans were recognized in a video tribute and with decorative lawn signs. Volunteers provide a lot of heart and service to this organization, and this year was no different. Our Put Down Roots in Tualatin volunteer opportunities continued, with 227 volunteers spending almost 1,000 hours planting trees and other plants throughout town.
Tualatin Moving Forward is the city's $20 million transportation bond program approved by voters in 2018. In 5 years, we plan to construct over 35 projects throughout town. 2020 was a big year for construction, with 10 more bond-funded projects completed throughout the city, including this one on Nasomo Lane near the Marquee Community Center. This project was nominated by the community through a neighborhood traffic safety program and improves safety for people crossing Nasomo Lane between the Marquee Community Center and other residences. The project included a new high-visibility crosswalk and accessible curb ramps to improve ADA accessibility for residents and visitors. With this project and others, we work closely with community stakeholders to scope the project and stay in touch about construction.
One of the bond program's signature projects is a Garden Corner Curves corridor, which includes Southwest 105th Avenue, Southwest Blake Street, and Southwest 108th Avenue. Garden Corner Curves is a narrow, skinny road, which had room for cars, but did not have a safe place for bicycles or pedestrians. The finished project will include a shared use path to provide much better access for bikes and for people walking, and will be much safer for people driving cars. Construction started this past fall and will continue through the coming summer. We plan to be finished with construction before the end of the year. Transportation projects are fun. Transportation projects with community-created art are even better. The Tualatin Art Advisory Committee selected 13 pieces of art to install on new sidewalks. Several are already installed, including Mastodon by David Damian James and The Happy Deer by Timothy McCarthy at Garden Corner Curves.
One of the goals of this program is to serve the entire community. As you can see from our map of projects, we are very near to accomplishing that goal. Visit our webpage for more information on the bond program, read our 3rd annual report, and send us your feedback on projects happening in your area.
Welcome to Tualatin Park. This 13.27-acre park situated in East Tualatin saw several improvements this year. First, old sports courts were renovated by repairing the surface, filling cracks, and coating the courts with a non-slipped color paving surface. The upper courts were painted for basketball and the lower courts for futsal. Futsal is similar to soccer but played on a hard surface. This is the first futsal court in Tualatin and was identified through the community engagement conducted during the update of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan in 2018. Another improvement at Tualatin this past year is the new playground. This too was chosen by community members. Over 300 votes were submitted between several different options.
It's gratifying to see the result of a long process, as we do here at Tualatin Park. To get to this point, we spent a lot of time planning, talking with the community, and designing first. For example, this past year, we launched Reimagina El Parque, or Reimagine Stone Ridge Park. This small park, located on Southwest 68th Avenue off Sagert Street, was ready for a refresh. So we launched a process to engage community members on redesigning the space. Through that work, we learned what park amenities were important and landed on a design that will serve the needs of the community. Also completed this past year was the conceptual design for a Veterans Memorial in Tualatin. A stakeholder advisory committee and public engagement process determined themes, concepts, objectives, and selected the Tualatin Commons as the eventual location for this memorial.
Our Parks and Recreation Department work hand in hand with our Parks Advisory Committee, or T-Park, to set priorities and engage our community. Our parks and trails are one of our most loved community assets, and it's not hard to see why.
Following the death of George Floyd and others, the nation, our state, and members of our city were incensed. several protests occurred in Tualatin, including one led by the Black Student Union and other students at Tualatin High School. With the support of the Tualatin City Council, Tualatin Police Department, and the entire city organization, I signed the Reimagining Policing Pledge to address police use of force policies in Tualatin. As part of this pledge, we committed to review our use of force policies, engage the community, report the findings, and, if needed, reform those policies. Over the fall and winter of last year, we convened groups of community members for a series of conversations about our police department and the use of force policies. Through these conversations and online engagement, we identified 6 recommendations.
The police department was actively engaged in this process and are very supportive of the outcomes. We are committed to providing the best possible service to our community, and we are always looking for ways to make changes for the better. One of the recommendations was to provide regular updates to the City Council and community, and we look forward to the opportunity to share the great work our staff does on a daily basis. Throughout the process, we prioritized education and transparency about the use of force policies and the department's operations. In total, we received over 50 questions either online or at one of the virtual meetings. Community engagement has always been a priority for us, and I encourage you to visit our webpage for more information or attend an upcoming City Council meeting when we are presenting.
I want to thank Police Chief Bill Steele and the entire Tualatin Police Department for their collaboration and earnest commitment to this work.
One of the City Council's priorities for this past year was to keep a focus on our vision for the future. We do this by planning. This past year, staff made progress on the objectives set forth in Tualatin 2040. Some of these objectives include making updates to the comprehensive plan and development code, which both guide how development can occur in the city. This includes updating the sections that relate to housing so they align with the strategies set forth in the housing needs analysis to encourage a diversity of housing types in Tualatin. This is a multi-year project, so there's more to come from Tualatin 2040. The city also began work this past year to draft a climate action plan. This is a plan that discusses climate change and outlines specific actions we will undertake to reduce emissions and climate change impacts. Developing this plan is an important step towards addressing our vision to be an environmentally active, responsible, and resilient community. The work continues in 2021, and we hope you'll consider engaging in the project. We also continue to partner with Portland and our regional partners to secure our long-term water supply from the Bull Run watershed, which is one of the most pristine water sources in Oregon. Another area where we see the future meeting the present is in the Basalt Creek. This past year, the City Council approved annexation of about 65 acres of residential land on the east side of Boone's Ferry Road near Horizon Community Church. There are several developments pending that would bring a mix of townhomes, single-family homes, and affordable housing. This will help mitigate the housing crisis.
As you've heard, it was a busy year in Tualatin. We look forward to getting to know the new normal, whatever that may be. For your safety and others, please continue to wear your mask, wash your hands, and stay physically distanced. I also encourage you to get a vaccination. Thank you for joining our 2021 State of the City address.
And good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Schmidt. Welcome to the live portion of the State of the City of Tualatin. I am here with Mayor Frank Bubenik. And Mayor Bubenik, your first question is, and it is live, I might add, and so is your answer.
All right.
And the question is, when will light rail come to Tualatin?
Interesting question. With the bond measure failing this last election cycle, Metro is looking at what they did right, what they did wrong, and what needs to be tweaked a little bit to maybe have it pass in 2 years. They're looking forward to working with the Biden administration on their infrastructure package so that possibly the federal government would increase their match so that the cost to businesses and residents of the metro area would be a lot less than it was a year or so ago. So we might be seeing it back again in 2 years. Metro's working with residents, stakeholders, and businesses to see what they need to do to tweak the ballot measure to bring it back and get much better support than they did last time.
We never talk about Tualatin and traffic in the same sentence. No, that never happens. What is the city of Tualatin doing to mitigate some of the traffic challenges that you face?
Well, as many people know, a few years ago, Tualatin passed our Tualatin Moving Forward bond program, about a $20 million program that had several projects to ease congestion, increase pedestrian safety, safe routes to school. So we've had several projects already completed. We've done quite a few pedestrian crosswalks, for example, near the high school and near some critical intersections where folks were getting hurt. The garden corner curves are occurring right now, as you saw in the video. That's about a $3 million project to make it bike ped safe and to get cars through there safely. We're also doing, we're going to be tweaking the lines at the intersection of basically between Martinazzi and I-5 on Tualatin Sherwood Road, so we can get cars through that intersection about a minute and a half quicker. That will relieve some of the congestion on Tualatin Sherwood Road. A project is starting right now to put a traffic light, a long-needed traffic light, at Martinazzi and Sagart. That's a four-way stop where we see quite a few accidents and a lot of close calls with pedestrians almost getting run over. So that project will be beginning here pretty soon. So if you go to the Tualatin Moving Forward website, you'll see the projects that were completed, what's coming up. We're going to have a busy construction summer this summer. We have a busy construction schedule this summer. What we're proud to see is that all the projects are getting done on time and on budget. So we're very proud of our initiative here.
But it would really help if the federal government came through with that infrastructure package.
Yes, those folks, depending on what side you're in politics, an infrastructure package is usually supported by both Republicans and Democrats because it solves our congestion problems or alleviates our construction problems, our congestion problems. I don't know if we'll ever solve them, but also puts people to work and helps increase community connectiveness.
Not only are you and I live tonight on TVC TV Channel 28, but we're also on Facebook, social media, and we're getting some questions from some of the folks who are watching us on Facebook.
Cool.
And this is one of them. Any plans to help rent out what looks to be a glut of low-density commercial real estate? There seems to be a lot of unused commercial real estate, and the old Hagen store comes to mind.
That's a very good question. We're in the process of looking at possibly using urban renewal zones. Two of the renewal zones are downtown Tualatin. A lot of people classify, between I-5 going down Tualatin Shore Road towards the post office. Looking at that as an urban renewal zone, and also possibly down at Basalt Creek, down near Graham's Ferry Road and Day Road. What urban renewal zones do is create tax increment funding. So taxes don't, the taxes, I'm going to put this simply, the taxes that would be generated are put back into the zone to build out infrastructure such as roads, sewer, water, and make those areas much better suited for use than they are right now, especially in downtown Tualatin where you're seeing those empty store spaces. If we could revitalize that whole area and think something like a Renko station on steroids, where you have multi-use buildings where you have commercial retail on the first floor and possibly housing on the floors above that, make it walkable. You have easy connections to transit so that someone could live in a facility that has age diversity, so young and old could live in there, and there's units that could be built for those kind of people and at different income levels. So we're looking forward to that discussion. We just began a discussion on urban renewal in the downtown core and maybe around Bridgeport, but I think most of the councilors are focusing on the downtown core because that's where we hear a lot of folks, a lot of residents dissatisfied with a lot of the empty store spaces. And if we can revitalize that whole area and attract more businesses to the area, it'd be terrific. And bring folks to downtown to be more active downtown, the commons be busier, maybe have some more entertainment facilities. Lots of ideas that we're looking forward to discuss to revitalizing our downtown.
And we're not that far away from being able to go back downtown, are we?
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Well, another road-related question. We always come back to traffic.
Yes.
Any plans to widen the Tualatin Sherwood Road?
Yes. So the county is in their final planning and design of widening Tualatin Sherwood Road between Sherwood and Tualatin Auto Body. Last I heard, the project construction, I think, is about a year off. It shifted a little bit because of COVID. and there's some design tweaks they've had to make. They were gathering community feedback before COVID on the additional lanes that would be put between Tualatin and Sherwood, and the expansion would continue beyond 99W on Roy Rogers Road. So they're re-envisioning that whole section of road and widening it to give it additional capacity so it can alleviate some of the congestion on it. But it's about a year and a half, depending on what's how projects go. But it is in the pipeline. It is coming. It is funded.
We saw a little bit about the Basalt Creek project in the video. Can you go into more detail on what is happening in that particular area?
Sure. So just recently we annexed the land south of Horizon Christian School down to about, people would say, Day Road. So picture, that space between Boone's Ferry Road and I-5. That will be residential land. So it will be a variety of different housing types, primarily detached single-family homes, but there will also be townhomes. And we're excited that Community Partners for Affordable Housing, or CEPA, has bought some acres down there, and they will be putting an affordable housing unit in of approximately 110 units. So these are permanently affordable housing for folks who are struggling below certain points of median income. And what's going to make that different for Washington County is that this facility will have more multi-bedroom units. A lot of the units that you'll see for permanently affordable housing are single bedroom or two bedroom. These are going to focus more on 2, 3, and also 4 bedrooms, so families can live there. So we're going to see the development of housing, an additional park, maybe 2, down on Basalt Creek. So we're probably a couple years maybe from housing, but the CEPA facility is probably going to possibly be there first because they have a construction that they want to start construction sometime next year. So Basalt Creek will be built out, and what most folks don't realize, that's pretty much the end of our available land for residential build-out. Will be maxed out. There's only going to be pockets of infill available in Tualatin. So as Tualatin's housing needs increase, we're going to have to look for other areas, possibly beyond our existing boundaries, for folks to live.
But this project recognizes the need for affordable housing for people in need.
Yes, and a mix of housing types at different pricing levels. We're hearing loud and clear from folks that the single-family homes that are ranging anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000 are unreachable for a lot of people. So we've got to have a different levels of housing in Tualatin, different price points, and that's one of the things that came out of our housing inventory and our housing analysis, Tualatin 2040, is that we've got to encourage developers to build different price points in our community.
What, pray tell, is a marker space, and why is our library getting one?
Well, it's a maker space.
Maker space.
Maker space.
Okay.
So maker space is a creative space. Right now, the library is installing a permanent maker space. A lot of the kids in our community will recognize our mobile maker space. Back in 2016, we were part of the competition for Frontier Communications for America's Best Communities, and we made it as a finalist. And what we were doing was looking at encouraging STEM or STEAM education. And what STEM and STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And we want to encourage young folks to get involved in those trades. A lot of boys and girls, by the time they hit middle school, lose interest in science, technology, arts, engineering, and math, especially girls. So one of our programs is to encourage girls to stay involved with science, technology, arts, and math, and engineering. And the Makerspace encourages that by we'll have a facility inside the library that has the capability for creation of digital media, digital production. It will have a 3D printer. It will have CNC cutting machines. So you can learn those technologies and those skills that employers want and demand today, and quite frankly, there's a shortage of. And you don't have to go to college for that. You can learn these skills and be a CNC operator, a computer programmer for a cutting machine, and you don't have to go to college for it. And you make serious income. You can support a family. So we're encouraging kids who aren't interested in going to college. This is one way you can build up your skills and get really interested and practice those skills in a facility that's going to be free to you in the Tualatin Library.
You can tell I'm a boomer if I called it marker space and not maker space.
We're excited, and that's one of the questions folks are asking is why the library isn't open yet, where other Washington County libraries are open. It's because we're putting the finishing touches on the makerspace, and we figured it'd be easier to keep the library closed and have the construction advance quicker than having it going on while folks are coming in and out of the library. So the decision was made to keep the library closed so that the project could proceed faster, and we open it up to the community, earlier than if we had the library open.
That's an exciting project.
It is.
Really
it's very
sounds
exciting.
good. Another question that just came in, is there a timeline or criteria we need to meet to reopen the Juanita Poll Center for in-person activities?
I think that's going to be driven by the state. What last I heard is, Governor Brown is looking to get Oregon to about 70% vaccination rate, and she rescind a lot of the restrictions. So as the state restrictions fall, that's when we can start looking at reopening the poll center. Right now, we're subject to distancing and how many people can be in the facility. So we have to work with that. We can't go out and do it by ourselves and override the governor. But I'm looking forward to hopefully by the summer and fall, I've heard that's when the governor's hoping that we'll get to 70% vaccination rates by the fall, and then we'll look at reopening the poll center, because I know folks are eagerly waiting, Meals on Wheels to start serving lunch again and doing activities inside the poll center.
As we saw in the video, city services had to be pretty nimble during the COVID, still are actually, in delivering those services. Will we get to keep some of the new programs and services that were developed during the pandemic, like the Holiday Lights Parade and the virtual story time videos?
I think we're looking at that right now. The Holiday Lights Parade was super popular. A lot of the virtual program is very popular. Those things, I think most of those programs will probably continue. Of course, resources and money are always the factor, but we'll hunt that money down because we knew they were super popular. And some folks will still not be very comfortable about going into the poll center for quite a while, post-COVID. So I think the city will continue to do some virtual programming. The library and the poll center has done terrific jobs with their outreach virtually. And for those folks who are housebound, this has been kind of a godsend, if you will, that now they have this programming that they can get to that they didn't have before, that we never thought of providing, and now it's available to them daily.
The old newsman has a question that just came in, and I really like this one. Has there been any work on a new city hall, or is the library the new home for city services?
Actually, no. The city still does not have a city hall, but folks who are acquainted with the old operations center down Herman Road, we've just expanded that to include the old operations center was increased in size. So now we just this week had a briefing on it. It's opened up where the city staff we were renting room space out of across the street from the library. They've been brought over to the new expanded city center off of Herman Road, as have many other functions. The whole goal there was to consolidate city services and make it easier for people who need permits or have to go to court. It's all in one spot now. So you don't have to go to different places. As anybody who's dealt with the city of Tualatin in the past, parks is in one place, permits in one place, finance is one part. If you were trying to get a permit, you might have to visit 3 different facilities. Now it's all consolidated in one building, so it's streamlined processing of delivery of services to our community.
But you did that on purpose. You wanted to have people see various parts of the city, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So what we're seeing, and our city manager is very happy, is we're getting efficiencies now.
There you go.
That you don't have people traveling around town for meetings, and it's easier on folks to go to one place, and especially in our development committee, our development community, and folks who are just doing permits in their home, it's one-stop shopping now. You just go in there, you can get it all done.
Let's go back to that makerspace thing that you were talking about. Right. When people use the makerspace to create a new product, the questioner asks, will staff connect people to the Tualatin Business Recovery Center?
Sure. The Business Recovery Center, because a lot of the folks that are going to be in the makerspace are going to be skew younger, but there's folks who are going to be doing job retraining. Older folks who are getting involved and may want to learn how to use a 3D printer or want to learn how to use a CNC machine. The BRC over in the Tualatin Chamber has been a terrific asset that was launched via the county, and it was the idea of one of our staff members, Jonathan, who's our economic development manager, to help businesses maintain and possibly grow or start during COVID. So I think folks who are looking for learning new skills and who want to connect with companies who are looking for those skills can certainly use the BRC Center in the Tualatin Chamber of Commerce building. Tualatin Chamber of Commerce offices. They don't have a whole building.
I would think a lot of seniors would like to use that service as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's open to everyone. There's no age. I mean, there's a lot of cool. I mean, you could have a senior who wants to learn how to create digital media and create movies and all that stuff. You can be able to do it right in there.
Put the grandkids on video.
That's it.
How it
Fancy
works.
ones.
Yeah. We were talking about the events that have been created during the pandemic. Will summer events like the concerts on the Common and the Viva Tualatin happen again this year?
I think they will happen, but they might be not what we're used to, especially Viva Tualatin. Remember, Viva Tualatin took the place of Art Splash, and it was a tremendous success pre-COVID. But it's one of the problems that you're going to have is that until restrictions are lifted, you can't usually have more than 100 people in a public area. And so until restrictions are lifted, what city staff are looking at is maybe having a series of smaller Viva Tualatins in different areas of the city, so that make it a smaller, simpler event, but move it around the city so you don't have as many people attending at once, and make it sure we still keep people safe for with COVID restrictions. But we want to get those programs start going again. We're just going to have to reimagine how we do them and deliver them a different way.
It's obvious your passion for the city of Tualatin. It's palpable. What are your hopes for the city of Tualatin over the next 10 to 15 years? What would you like to see?
First answer you have to say is decrease traffic congestion, make it easier to get around in and out of the city. I love to attract more families to Tualatin, have a wide variety of housing types at different price points. I'd like to continue to be one of the best places to conduct business. I'd like to attract businesses to the city that provide family wage jobs, high-tech industrial delivery jobs, warehousing, all pay very well. So making sure that the city stays prosperous, both on the business side and resident side, that all boats lift at the same, with a very prosperous community, and that we continue to be a diverse community that respects all different cultures, and that we all can work together to make us one of the best cities in Washington County, if not the state of Oregon.
You were a city councilor before you were a mayor. You've been mayor for a couple of years.
Yeah.
What was something that you did not expect about being mayor?
COVID. That was one thing. I mean, I was, I took the reins from Mayor Ogden, and Mayor Ogden was terrific in showing me the ropes and with the transition, and teaching me the things, what things he did right, what things he did wrong, things I should repeat, and warned me about the time commitment and being passionate about the community. But what I wasn't expecting was COVID and having that challenge, as well as all the mayors in Washington County had the same challenge. We all never envisioned that would be part of our duties, and having to scramble to protect our communities, protect our businesses, and protect each other. But I think the city staff, city manager, and city council has done a terrific job in supporting me through this COVID crisis. We have done very well compared to other cities. We're still financially stable after the COVID crisis. We're starting budget meetings. We just had our first one on Monday. The city is stable. Residents are still very happy. Our last customer survey of residents, people are very happy with services in Tualatin. They love our community. We're a safe community. We have terrific parks, recreation, and it's a great place to bring up a family.
And you learned an awful lot during this COVID episode.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the things you've learned is cooperation. One of the things that Washington County is known for is the mayors getting along and working together. Mm-hmm. And then with that, it is well known in Salem, the governor is well aware how well the mayors of Washington County work together and supporting her actions in COVID, or when we don't agree with her, we'll tell her. And she's very receptive of that. our congressional delegation, our senators, all work very well with Washington County mayors. I'm proud to be one of them and working together to make Washington County terrific.
We're lucky to be here. We sure are, all of us. Another question that just came in, and the questioner says, I heard the makerspace would also have things like sewing machines. What other type of craft repair items might be there? Can I donate equipment that others might want to use?
That one you have to talk to library staff, because what an interesting thing that Jerry Ann, the library director, is we were getting into the, if you will, the Internet of Things. Yep. That you could, in addition to checking out books, you could check out sewing machines, you could check out devices, and Jerry Ann was collecting quite a bit of devices that you could check out and actually use, I'm assuming, inside the makerspace. So that is something that is on the library's radar, and she's working on that. Everything, I'm blanking on some of the stuff, but it was really cool, some of the things that you'll be able to check out of the library that's not just a book or a DVD.
It's all information one way or another.
It's all information, and it's devices that you can learn on and enhance your skills.
Now that you've been vaccinated, and I know you have, what are you most excited to do?
I'm looking forward to our first small dinner, 6 to 8 people still, but without masks, and be able to hug your friends and family again. We've had, maybe parties of 2 or 4 folks over to our house, but it's with mask ons, doing the elbow thing. There's dear friends of ours that we have not been able to hug or do anything, and I'm looking forward to that first really nice, cool dinner indoors versus outside. But with the day like today, it would be great to be outside. Even today outside, you wouldn't have to wear masks, because CDC has relaxed guidelines that if you're all vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask outside. And indoors, they encourage it, but you don't have to if everyone's vaccinated in a small group. So just looking forward to gatherings again and getting those hugs you've missed for the last year.
I celebrated my birthday 2 weeks ago, and I was fully vaccinated. I got to hug my 2.5-year-old granddaughter.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
People, there's a lot of grandparents out there who haven't been able to touch their grandkids for a year.
It was the best birthday present I've ever
bet.
had, I'll tell you. How did the pandemic impact the city of Tualatin financially?
It had a slight impact. The budget committee, as I mentioned, started up on Monday. Our finance director, Don Hudson, has developed a budget that's about 5% less than it was last year. There's some revenues, of course, that are way down, like transient lodging, so hotel taxes are down. Business permitting is down. Development fees didn't come in as much as we thought, so people were holding off on big projects, but little projects were still coming in. So development was still happening in Tualatin, which just not the big things, but those are starting to now get filed. So we had a little bit of an impact. We've had to cut back some services. Folks might notice that we're no longer fingerprinting people. We're no longer doing passport services. So what we're going to do is the core services are fully funded. Most of the things people are used to seeing in the city are stable. We're very financially stable. Budget is solid. We're not having the impact other cities are, because we're not as reliant on certain dollars as other cities are. We've got a good mix of industrial and residential property taxes. We are seeing people paying their property taxes slower. Most people in the past used to take the benefit of that discount of paying it all at once, but with COVID and financial crisis, people are now taking advantage of paying the 2 or 3 payments to Washington County. So those monies are not flowing in as quick. But we've got the assets and financial resources to wait it through and wait for those monies to come through. So we're in very good shape in Tualatin. Our finance folks and Sherilyn has done a terrific job with our budget. I look forward to getting it approved in the coming weeks and continue to provide top-notch services to our residents.
This question just came in, and it's along the same lines. If I can't pay my water bill, does the city have a program or scholarships?
Yes. So it's not through the city. Community Action, Washington County has a contract with Community Action. If you're struggling with paying your water bill or utility bill, you certainly can contact the city, and we'll connect you with Washington County/Community Action, who are covering bills. That's part of the CARES Act initially, and they have the funds for those people who are struggling to pay them. please contact the utility folks in Tualatin. They'll connect you with Washington County and Community Action. You fill out a few forms, and they will make those payments for you. So there is relief for that out there, and it's available.
A question that we just got: what's your favorite part of being mayor? Not COVID.
Not COVID. I've been getting pen pal letters from children. I've gotten quite a few letters. One was out of the blue. It was just a question, and it was about 3 or 4 letters have gone back and forth with this young girl. And then West Lynn, Wilsonville School District must have had a program where you write your mayor. So I got several letters from folks attending schools there that live in Tualatin. And so I've enjoyed getting those letters and responding to kids. Back pre-COVID, I loved doing meeting, lunch with the mayor with students. So one of the things I really enjoy in Tualatin and being mayor is just interacting with our youth and, teaching them how government works and everything, where from, federal government down to state, county, city level, how it works. And they're just intrigued with some of it and hearing their stories and their, what they're going through as a kid in Tualatin. So that's one of the biggest things I enjoy is speaking to our youth.
A big part of being mayor is ceremonial. You get to be at a lot of different events. I would imagine that's been curtailed somewhat over the last year.
There used to be a lot of ribbon cuttings I would do on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. I think during COVID I've done 2, and it was one of those. It's a weird ribbon cutting where everybody's socially distanced with masks on and not the usual ribbon cuttings we're used to doing. But hopefully we'll get back to those because we still have businesses opening. There was a new restaurant open up in town near Fred Meyer in front of New Seasons, a chicken place. They had lines around the building. So, there's still businesses attracted to coming to Tualatin, and they're going to do well because this is a great community.
I've talked about a lot of the projects that are going forward. We saw an awful lot of them in the video. Are there any of those projects that you want to highlight over the next couple of years that you would really like people to focus on?
I think the SEPA project is a big one because that's going to be multi-year. So the Community Partners for Affordable Housing, the permanently affordable housing units, that's going to take a couple of years to build. It's going to take millions of dollars. So that's one of my priorities, to make sure that gets done. Of course, we always have land use issues, sewer, water issues. So just figuring out how to get that constructed and up and running would be terrific for Tualatin because we don't have anything like that in our city. Beaverton, Tigard does. So it'd be nice to have a facility like that for our residents and for people in the region. I'd love to see the Tualatin moving forward bond program. It's when it sunsets that folks say, hey, this is terrific. We know we have more projects that can get done. Let's renew this bond. Do like Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, that they renew their bonds and they come up with a new list of things to do. So to continue to increase pedestrian safety and decrease congestion and traffic in Tualatin. And as was mentioned in the previous question, I'd love to see a revitalized downtown Tualatin. That most folks think downtown Tualatin is Bridgeport, and it's not. Some people say, is there a downtown Tualatin? And yet we can create one. It's supposed to be around the Commons. Let's create that with maybe an urban renewal zone and re-envision that whole area and make it terrific, that it's a place that people want to come and hang out and live.
Bridgeport is not a city.
Bridgeport is not a city, but people, for some reason, you hear, oh, that's your town center. Yeah. No, it's not.
So this one just came in, and it's a good one. If Glenda the Good Witch gave you a magic wand, what projects would you like to see become a reality?
Wow.
Remember Glenda?
Yeah, that's a good one.
What would be your top priority?
Housing. Coming up with the answer how we could build housing that's affordable for all at different income points. Have that blend in a community where you have single family attached, detached, townhomes, condos, that anybody who desires to have a home can afford one in some mechanism, that it's achievable for all, and also include those folks who want to downsize to have homes where you're aging and you want to get out of your single-family ranch and get into an ADA-capable home that you're comfortable in, that has all the services you need and your closest services. So those folks can sell their home to a young family and then move into a new housing facility or apartment or whatever that they're comfortable in, cottage clusters. There's all kinds of ideas out there. I'd love to see that happen in our community, that we have a great array and inventory of homes for different folks and for different income levels.
Let's not forget multi-generational housing
That's
as well.
key, yep, because we have quite a voice. Oh, how should I put it? Quite a boisterous senior community in Tualatin. I'm on the aging task force. They're not shy, and they let me know what they want. And that's one of the things we always talk about is, taking care of the folks who are getting old, and aging in place is a big thing. They love the city. They don't want to leave. Their grandkids might be here. Let's not have them move away. Let's find facilities kind of like what the Marquee has, with their cottages back there that people can stay here and be close to their grandkids.
You knew we weren't going to get out of here tonight without a question about the Stafford Hamlet.
Okay.
What is going to happen with the Stafford Hamlet?
Right now, so there's a 3-city IGA where Tualatin, West Lynn, and Lake Oswego are working cooperatively.
IGA, Intergovernmental Agreement.
Thank you. Intergovernmental Agreement, where the 3 cities have agreed to plan cooperatively in that area. Right now, pretty much nothing is happening. You have new city councils in Lake Oswego, in West Lynn, and in Tualatin. And right now, it's not a priority for any of the 3 cities to really aggressively do anything in Stafford. We know the Hamlet is very active in what they desire as far as agricultural zoning and carbon neutral. We know the landowners are desiring development. But at this point right now, staff capacity is limiting what we can do in that area. So right now, Stafford's going to be status quo. The one thing that might trigger that to change is in the event of if I-205 gets widened, say magically ODOT changes his mind and the legislature changes his mind and shifts the money that they're focusing on the Rose Quarter, that expansion there of I-5, and decides, okay, let's move to 205 because there's a lot less opposition and it's shovel ready. One of the things in the 3-party IGA is that when I-205 gets funding and the expansion of lanes can occur, that development south of the Tualatin River can start, so concept planning can start. So that might trigger things, but right now it's just status quo. I know it drives people crazy. That's not what they want to hear, but right now all 3 cities are just working through the priorities, and one of them being one of the things that came out of the legislature last year or so was requirements of basically getting rid of single-family detached residential zones, that you have to allow anything in your zones. And some cities are struggling how to implement that. I know Lake Oswego, it's a challenge for Lake Oswego. West Lynn's looking at it. We're lucky that we put in for a grant to have a consultant come on that the state's paying for to help us try to implement those changes to our development code to allow a variety of housing types and what used to be just one single type of housing. So that's the challenges we're having, and then that are distracting us from dealing with Stafford. We just have to deal with what we have in front of us right now. And Stafford has long been an issue for all 3 cities, but all 3 cities are working together. We're not at odds with each other. I'm in contact with Mayor Buck and Mayor Walters about Stafford, and we're working together to make sure we don't step on each other's toes, plus try to address the needs of all the parties in Stafford.
This question just came in. What's the status of other public transit routes? I heard there was one between Stafford and Tualatin in the works.
Yes. So we are working on funding. Washington County, Clackamas County is putting together the funding to create a shuttle route down Borland Road. So the concept right now, it's going through the planning phases right now. Hopefully we'll have it up and running in 1 to 2 years, is that a shuttle will run down Borland Road, and right now it looks like it might be Ride Connection and or Smart, giving transportation down Borland Road. There'll be a stop somewhere around the traffic circle in Stafford where you can transition to another vehicle which will continue on to Oregon City. So we're trying to increase east-west connectivity. I've been beaten up ODOT about this, and Washington County has cooperated. They're on board. Clackamas County's on board, because we all know that east-west connections down there just are terrible. That there are a lot of services out of Rolling Hills Church that people can't get to. The Borland Free Clinic is there, Family Promise is there, and the Tualatin Food Pantry is there. And their biggest struggle is people who need the services can't get there. So as soon as we can get that in like an hourly shuttle running up and down Borland Road, the better. And plus, it'll help our, like I mentioned before, our seniors, our veterans want to use that shuttle service to get to the Oregon City VA clinic.
Yeah.
Because right now it takes them hours in a circular route to get to Oregon Cities, whereas when we get this shuttle running, it's going to be a straight shot.
Transportation and housing.
Transportation and housing.
There. Here's another one, though. Can you imagine ever adding sports tournament fields or other sports fields in Tualatin?
I can imagine it. It's just a matter of where it would be. Their former city councilor Paul Morrison was a staunch advocate for this, and was always looking down somewhere in Basalt Creek. We've got the residential area of that annexed already. Who knows? It might happen there. Maybe one day it occurs. When Tualatin expands, most people don't know. It's in the plan 20, 30 years from now that Tualatin may jump over I-5 and be on the other side of I-5 between Wilsonville and Lake Oswego. So that area of Stafford, 65th area, might one day become Tualatin, and who knows, it might be there. People remember, I jokingly remember when Mayor Ogden was trying to attract the Raiders to come. And
right.
It was supposed to be over in that area around 65th and some of that area. That potentially has, could be where it locates. But
now he can go after the Oakland A's, right?
Yeah, that's it. If Tennessee doesn't get him, because I heard Justin Timberlake wants to bring him doesn't want him here. He wants him in Tennessee.
Has the Tualatin City Council taken a position on the recent hate crimes that have occurred against the Asian American community?
Yes. We just put out a proclamation of basically a statement against the racist acts against Asian Americans. I mentioned when Councilor Sacco was the advocate for this and brought it up, and we passed it. I think two city council meetings, a proclamation against hate against Asian Americans, where I mentioned when we were talking about it at the shot clinic at the Pole Center, I was speaking with a fourth-generation Asian American who basically was verbally abused in Fred Meyer and Tualatin. And her family's been here for 4 generations, and the guy just went off on her. She let him finish and said, "Are you done?" And he said, "Yeah." And she was very polite and just walked away, but it devastated her. And we can't have that happening in Tualatin. I mean, we're a diverse community. We got to honor diversity.
The end.
Yeah.
You bet. How does Tualatin's tax rate compare to other cities? Our viewer asks.
We're on the lower end. We have a very favorable tax rate. I'm forgetting what the actual dollar rate is, but we're on the lower end of Washington County. So that's why it's a very attractive city to build residences and build businesses, because we are on the lower end of taxes.
Do you have any plans to increase that tax rate?
No, it's the property tax rate is set by the state, so we can't really adjust that. The only thing we've done recently is we applied the system development charges for parks to commercial development. In the past, that fee, which helps fund parks, so when they build new homes, part of the fee gets paid for to build parks for those facilities, in that area. In the past 20 years or so, it didn't apply to commercial projects. We changed that about 2 years ago. So that increased the fee. And just most recently, we voted to implement a $5 increase, a $5 parks fee on our water utility bills, because our parks are now about 25 years old, and there's maintenance we just can't keep up with. So this $5 will raise about $690,000 a year to help pay. We've got about $9 million of critical deferred maintenance to pay for. Obviously, this fee is not going to cover it, but what will help us do is tackle the projects that need to get fixed now to get those facilities in the parks that have been offline for a while back online. And then we're looking at maybe, talking to the community about doing a bond in a year or so to get the dollars that we need to get our parks back to where they used to be. The parks are in great shape, but there's certain parts of the parks that have aged. And our parks staff has done a terrific job of band-aiding them and keeping them alive and keeping them well. But there are certain things that you just can't fix right now. For example, there's a bridge in Browns Ferry Park that's closed because it's just not safe. And then we have certain facilities that are not ADA compliant, so we're going to need to address those. So there's some just deferred maintenance that we're going to have to fix. So we're not seeing big increases in taxes. We're seeing small increases in some fees. But people are going to see the result of that. That's what why Tualatin moving forward has been a success, is that people are seeing their dollars being put to use, and they're seeing a result. It's not a boondoggle. And that's one of the things we're proud of here in Tualatin, is that the funds we get, we put to very good use, and the community sees the bang for the buck. That when they pay that $5 fee, they're going to see those things in the parks that have been closed or deteriorated be repaired and be put back into operation.
Would you ever consider a working relationship or even a merger with Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District?
I think it was surfaced years ago, but I think the tax rate for that is very high. Mm-hmm. It's not a cheap thing. And I think that's been the deterrence, is that we've had a terrific parks department who's done, as we just saw, the holiday lights, the hidden hearts, the Pips Donuts. They've been doing a great bang-up job as an independent parks agency, if you will, a parks department. So I think our parks department does just as good of a job. Maybe we don't have the fancy facilities that 12 Parks and Rec has, but we do a terrific job for our community at a much better price.
Small but mighty.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Another question that just came in: what is the status of school resource officers in the schools?
They're back. So we signed the contract with Tiger Tualatin School District. There are 2 officers that started back up this week. And so the 2 SROs are back at the public schools, and they're also at the private schools as of this week. So they are back. The TTSD has taken into account the community feedback on SROs. So there's been some serious tweaks to the program I think people are going to like. So they're more responsive to the community. They're more involved with the folks they serve, and they're going to be there's going to be a lot more training available for the officers, and I think it's going to be a good project. We're going to see how it goes. It's going to be evaluated constantly, so we're going to see what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong with the SROs.
And with that, Mayor Bubenik, I think you can probably say with a straight face, the state of the city of Tualatin is sound.
It's very sound, and it will continue to be under me as mayor. I got to promote myself, maybe.
Yes,
go out on a joke.
Thank you for the service that you are providing to Tualatin, and thank you for your service to Washington County.
It's my pleasure. I enjoy it.
I'm Eric Schmidt, everyone. Good night, Tualatin.